Hello, everybody, to the Lazy Money Machine podcast. Today, we're having an episode whereby we're going to look at a piece of audio that I found on the internet from somebody quite interesting, and Graham and I are gonna discuss it. And the topic of today is that doing a business or building a business is a journey. It's not a one-off thing. So let's listen to the audio first.
I always tell people when I do business with them, I said, look, it's not about the money, it's about the journey. Because there's nothing better when you're doing business. Nobody believes in it. You can't, you won't, you will never will happen. It's going to fail. Horrible idea. Then it becomes that you're the most genius thing that did it, successful at it. And what better than to trade a story with a partner like that? Do you remember when nobody would believe in it? You remember when this happened? Remember?
Yeah.
There's no money that can buy that. There's no price on them kind of stories.
Yeah, so this is Pitbull talking to...
Pitbull.
Pitbull talking to Tony Robbins, actually, on his Tony Robbins podcast.
Wow.
And he brings up an interesting thing that building a business is a journey. It's not a quick thing and a quick win whereby you've built something and then let it rest. And I've also experienced that working with somebody, and especially through the tough times, is very interesting. And maybe you've had that too, Graham, or not?
Yeah, he says, doesn't he, that, do you remember when nobody believed in you? I can't remember what exactly he said, right? But I think all us entrepreneurs have felt that, haven't we? That doubt at the beginning, and it's tough, isn't it? Because the people around you, often the ones that you count as friends and family, are the ones that doubt you.
Yes. Yeah, it's easy to get into an environment whereby the people around you are trying to bring you down, right? Or, use their perspective of what they think life should be to challenge what you're trying to do. And doing a business is not everybody's job. I think that's a fact of life. Not everybody's doing what many of us are doing, which is building a business or building a property portfolio. And that's tough, I think, for some other people to understand.
Yeah, that point about it's not their job, they don't understand it. That's really important, isn't it? A lot of people come to me, and I work with startup founders, people who are building their own businesses, and they all say, "Oh, I try and I talk to my friends, or I talk to people in the office, and they don't get it." And I always say, don't sell to the unsold. It's a waste of your time, a waste of your energy. You're banging your head against the wall. Mm-hmm. We've been there, haven't we? I mean, it was like that when I started a business, and you just realize you've got to move on. What about yourself? Did you find people were actively doubting what you were doing, or was it just that they kind of, when you talked about starting a business, they kind of went, that's interesting. Did you see that movie on TV the other night and they changed the subject? How was it with you?
Yeah, I didn't have that many people doubting me. I had quite a lot of support, I think, when I started. But I had a lot of family, especially, doubting giving up security for insecurity. That was really a topic for me when I first started back in 2005. I made a big jump and had no salary for a long time, and basically tried to build a business with my Indonesian business partner here. And that definitely happens. Are you sure you want to do this? I mean,
how did they actually say it though? What sort of terms did they use? Like, they didn't say don't give up your security for insecurity. They would say stuff like what? Like, what about your pension, or what sort of things did they say?
Well, mainly, are you sure that this is going to work? I mean, my family did have faith in me being able to figure things out. That was not the issue. But I mean, they obviously saw that starting a company and starting a business usually comes with a period of very little or no income. I mean, back in the days in 2005, we started like a media agency, and we started a TV production business, and we started the mobile content business, the SMS business. But before I was able to take a salary out of it, I mean, took probably a year or something. So I did have to have some buffer to get started in business. And that period was quite scary. I had a baby back then. I was married for a couple of years. So I took that decision to become an entrepreneur at the point in my life where most people would not consider it anymore because of the responsibilities and the obligations they would feel are pressing, right? But I did do it at that point, and I always had quite a lot of support from my family back in the Netherlands, and definitely had a lot of support from my wife here. But the question on, are you ready to give up, the security of a job was definitely a topic. And it wasn't very explicitly mentioned to me, but it was definitely something that was always brought up. Like, are you sure you want to continue with this? And I myself have doubted a couple of times, should I continue or should I just give up? And persevering is a good trait, I think, to have in this field of work.
Yeah, I think it's important as well is that you learn not to justify yourself to these people, right? Because one thing you mentioned is like they have a different viewpoint, or they've grown up with different worldviews, right? And you shouldn't justify yourself to them. So when people ask, and people get this all the time, is like, are you sure this is going to work? Of course, you're not 100% sure. That's just part of the game of being an entrepreneur, right? But the point is that you don't need to justify yourself to people, and that's fine. With friends and family, don't get into that conversation. Just accept that they've got a different worldview to you. And, find the people to hang around with that you don't have to justify yourself with. So, hang around with people who, if they ask you, what are you doing? And you say, I'm starting a business, rather than say, oh, are you sure? You need people around you who say, wow, that's great. Tell me about it, right?
Right.
Why are you doing it? What's the solution that you're providing? What's the problem you're solving? Surround yourself with those people. That's really important, isn't it? You can't replace your family. That's important. And in many cases, you can't replace your friends, but you can find a new group of people to hang around with, right?
Yeah, I think that's really the lesson, and get a bit of an armor for people that are doubting you, because it is sometimes difficult to explain. I still have these issues of explaining to people. So what do you actually do? Where do you go? Where's your office, and where do you go?
Yeah.
I still have these issues of explaining that, right? So, I mean, you'll always have many people in your life that might not understand the journey you're on. And that's fine. And I've sort of built a bit of an armor against the doubters, if any. I mean, I don't have a lot of problems with those, but not being able to get through to somebody to explain exactly what it is that you're doing is fine. I mean, you're doing your best to sort of show what you're doing, but if they don't get it, that's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? I mean, with the people that don't get it, don't get into a conversation. Just tell them what they want to hear. And with the people who do get it, then, embellish, indulge your energies in those people. I remember once, Eric, I flew into Canada from the US. I was flying into Toronto, and I had to go through customs, and the immigration pulled me aside for like a bit more of a lengthy check because I was traveling on my own. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, why are you coming to Toronto? And I said, well, I'm doing this, that, and the other. And he says, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, this is a long story. Where do I start? But, I thought about explaining everything I do. Like I invest, I mentor people, I get involved in startups and so on. And I started talking about this, and he looked at me, and you could see like he wasn't impressed. And I just sort of stopped and said, I'm a salesman. And he went, great. Put it on the form and stamp, move on through. And I feel it's a bit like that often with, friends and families, that you don't get into that conversation.
Yeah. The option of what we do is usually also not on the pull down box. So
right.
That's also right. Entrepreneur, property investor, if you fill in a form, I mean, usually it's not there. So in Indonesia, I always say I'm retired.
Right.
For immigration and for things. I mean, I do business, but I don't do much business in Indonesia at the moment, except for my property business here. So it's easier. So,
right,
okay,
exactly.
I don't have an occupation. I'm retired. Okay, done. Okay, they get that.
Right. You check the box. You sail through, right? You don't sort of like raise any flags.
That's right. I fall in one of the 10 options that they have for me. So interesting, yeah. But again, look at this. Pitbull was saying that's like, doing a business is a journey, and it provides you with these stories of like you just mentioned, right? The stories of people not understanding you. And I think that's the interesting thing about what we're doing. And I think that's the interesting thing about building a business or a property business. Mm. The journey is really the fun bit about it.
Yeah, don't take it on your own. That's right. I mean, any journey you take with somebody else or a group of people, right? That's how we take journeys.
Yeah. Hope you like this. Hope to see you in the next episode where we'll pick another topic and chat about it.